People love to believe that the world around them is stable, predictable, and permanent, but the truth is far more uncomfortable and far more empowering. A city like New York could go completely dark in 3 days. 3 days. That's all it would take for a perfect storm of infrastructure failure, electrical overload, cyber attack, or an unexpected natural event to turn the city that never sleeps into the city that can't see. And before you think that's dramatic, remember how quickly the 2003 blackout happened? Millions thrown into darkness without warning? No one asked for permission, no one had time to prepare, and that's exactly the point I want you to feel today. Not fear, but awareness. Because it's not about New York going dark. It's about how fast life can shift, how fragile our environment truly is, and how dangerous it is to depend on external stability for internal prosperity. Scripture already warns us about the dangers of building our confidence on things that can be shaken. Hebrews 12:27 says that everything that can be shaken will be shaken, but the things of God remain. That means your mindset is either built on the temporary or the eternal, on the unstable or the unshakable. And if you're relying on the country, the state, the economy, or your city to determine whether you rise or fall, then you're setting yourself up to collapse the moment the lights go out. This is where your entire life shifts, because prosperity does not begin with opportunity. It begins with perspective. Every wealthy person you admire has one thing in common. They learn to prosper independent of circumstances. They are not controlled by conditions. They control their responses. They don't wait for light to move. They move even in darkness. Proverbs 23:7 says, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." That means your internal world determines your external world, not the other way around. And if that's true, and it is, then the most profitable decision you can make today is to rebuild the architecture of your mind. Because the moment your mind becomes disciplined, your results become predictable. I want you to think about something uncomfortable. If New York went dark for 3 days, how long would it take for your income to disappear? Your stability, your confidence? If everything around you stopped functioning, would you still know how to create, produce, multiply, or have you built your entire life on systems you don't control? This is the dividing line between people who survive and people who prosper. One group waits for perfect conditions, the other creates conditions. One group depends on the environment, the other depends on mindset, wisdom, and discipline. That's why Romans 12:2 commands us to renew our minds, because renewal creates resilience, and resilience creates prosperity. Let me debunk a lie that keeps millions trapped. When the country gets better, I'll get better. That's false. It's the wrong direction. Countries improve when individuals improve. Economies grow when citizens grow. Prosperity doesn't begin with the nation. It begins with the mindset of one person who refuses to remain the same. If you want to make more money, you need a renewed mind. If you want to build wealth, you need a transformed perspective. If you want to rise above your environment, you need to stop thinking like your environment. Let's get technical for a moment. There are 3 mental frameworks that separate people who prosper no matter what from people who struggle no matter what. The first is internal locus of control. That's just a fancy term for believing that your actions shape your life, not external events. People with an external locus blame the government, the economy, their city, their parents, their circumstances. People with an internal locus outperform them every time. Why? Because responsibility is the foundation of power. The second framework is asymmetric action. It means taking actions that cost little but can produce massive upside. Starting a side business, learning a high-value skill, creating digital assets, building an audience. These are low-risk, high-return moves. They don't require permission, and they don't depend on the state of the country. The third framework is mental anti-fragility. Anti-fragile things get stronger under pressure. You become better under challenge, sharper under stress, more disciplined under adversity. This is the opposite of fragility, where inconvenience breaks you. And it's also the opposite of resilience, where you merely survive. Anti-fragility means you grow. This mindset is literally biblical. James 1:2 tells us to consider trials as joy because they produce endurance and maturity. That is anti-fragility. It means setbacks are setups for your evolution. Now pause and imagine yourself operating with those 3 mental structures: a sense of personal power, a strategy to multiply, a mind that strengthens under pressure. Suddenly, the fear of your city going dark becomes irrelevant. The economy becomes irrelevant. The opinions of others become irrelevant. Because your mindset is no longer reactive, it's sovereign. And when your mind becomes sovereign, your life becomes unstoppable. Here's the truth most people avoid. You will never rise above the level of your mindset. Never. You can put a small mindset in a big city like New York, and that person will still live small. You can put a big mindset in a small town, and that person will still find a way to dominate, because environment influences you, but mindset defines you. If you want prosperity, stop asking what the country is doing and start asking what you are becoming. Stop focusing on the darkness around you and start focusing on the light within you. Jesus said in Matthew 5:14, "You are the light of the world." That means darkness isn't your enemy, it's your stage. When others panic, you plan. When others freeze, you move. When others complain, you create. That is the mindset that leads to wealth. That is the mindset that builds opportunity in chaos. That is the mindset that turns 3 days of darkness into a lifetime of distinction. So no, this video isn't about fear. It's about awakening. Whether New York stays bright or goes dim, your prosperity should never depend on the power grid. Your wealth should never depend on your zip code. Your future should never depend on your environment. Prosperity begins where dependency ends. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner your entire life transforms. You don't need the city to shine. You just need your mind to.